Hello and welcome to the LPQ and LPC exam readiness review. Congratulations on making it this far. Both the LPQ and LPC are professional certifications and held to extremely high standards, which is reflected in the development of this exam. Now, specifically for the LPQ, this is a comprehensive exam. Make sure you've completed all of the material in all three modules. That includes retail environment, becoming a successful business person, and loss prevention basics and tools. Specific to the LPC, this is also a comprehensive exam, and you need to make sure you've completed the material in all 6 modules. That includes leadership principles, business principles, LP operations, safety and risk management, crisis management, and supply chain security. Before you schedule your exam, make sure that you have full confidence in the material and you understand all of it. You'll also need to be able to apply the lessons learned in application questions. You'll need to make sure that you understand both the primary terms and the formulas you learned throughout the course. There will be questions on the exam that covers both of these areas. You'll want to make sure that you understand and know the primary focus of each chapter. You'll also want to make sure that you understand the most important lessons learned that you should have understood out of each section. Once you've completed all of your courses for your specific certification, make sure that you take the practice exam multiple times and that you're consistently scoring in the 90s. Keep in mind that while the questions may be very similar to some of those on the practice exams, the questions on the proctored exam will be different and they'll potentially be more difficult even when you're covering the same material. You'll need to know not only how to recall the information, but also how to apply the information that you've learned. Make sure that you use your study gopher notes to prepare for the exam. Those notes highlight key takeaways that you should have had throughout the course. To schedule your exam, visit the LPF homepage. You'll want to select the LP/AP certification tab and then find the LP/LPQ exam logistics area. From there, you'll need to find the exam qualification form, which is found off of that page. Once you've found the exam qualification form, you'll need to fill that out completely. If you've already purchased your exam through the online store, you'll need to find your prepaid exam tag off of your original email. If you haven't purchased an exam, you'll need to go to the online store and purchase an exam tag and reference your invoice number. If you've received a scholarship and they pay for your exam, you'll need to find your scholarship packet email, which would include the prepaid exam tag. Most scholarships do not include a prepaid exam. It includes the course only. So be sure to reference your original email. Once the LPF receives, reviews, and processes the exam qualification form, we'll send over information to schedule your exam. This could take up to 2 to 3 business days. Before you schedule your exam, make sure that you have the necessary computer requirements. You'll need a well-working computer with 1 gigabyte of RAM or higher. You'll need a wired high-speed internet connection. Keep in mind that if you get disconnected, you risk losing your progress and having to pay for and retake the exam again. You'll need to make sure that you have a camera, microphone, and speakers connected to the computer. You'll also need to make sure that you have a compatible browser, i.e. Edge, Firefox, Chrome, Safari. Those are all compatible browsers. Keep in mind, you can't use a tablet, a Chromebook, or an iPad. Once you receive an email from our partner, you will then proceed to the Test Track exam site where you can schedule your exam. After you've scheduled your exam, you will receive an email confirmation with the date and time of the exam. It will also include your exam identification number and password, and any other specific rules and details. Prior to the day of testing, you must re-enter the site and click on Open Portal to connect to set up your security profile and test your computer compatibility. On the day of testing, you'll want to make sure that you re-enter the site at least 15 minutes before the exam and click on Open Portal. You'll want to make sure that you have plenty of time and you're not rushing and that everything is ready to go. Both LPQ and LPC exams are proctored, and you're going to be asked to present your passport or government issued ID, like your driver's license, before the exam can begin. You'll also be asked to confirm your login ID and password. As I just mentioned, somebody will be present monitoring the entire exam. They'll keep track of your time and then watch to make sure that anyone taking an exam is following the guidelines and instructions. Keep in mind, once you start your exam, you cannot get up. You'll want to make sure that your computer is charged and plugged into a power source. You'll also need to make sure that all of the windows on your computer are completely closed except for the one browser window needed for the exam. You'll also want to limit distractions. If you're at home, put your pets away. If you're at work, put a note on the door saying that you're taking an exam and it will be X amount of time before you can come back out. Please make sure, just as I've already stated, you can't get up. Go to the bathroom before you start your exam. You absolutely should be alone in the room. You'll need to make sure that your desk area is completely clear. The proctor will ask for you to turn your camera around so they can see all of the things that are on your computer area. No phones are allowed on this test, so you'll need to make sure that those are turned off, on Do Not Disturb, even potentially out of the room. You also can't have any headphones in your ears. If you do have dual monitors connected, you'll need to disconnect those prior to taking your exam. As I already mentioned, you can't leave your seat. During the test, you'll have to make sure that your webcam, speakers, and microphone remain on throughout the entire duration of the test. The proctor does have to be able to see you from start to finish. Things that are good to make sure you have available on your desk before you start the test. Have a plain calculator, or you could use the computer calculator. Keep in mind, scientific calculators are not allowed, and as it states on the next line again, no cell phones are permitted. It's important to have a plain piece of paper and a pencil on your desk as well to make notes. As I've already reviewed and can't stress enough, you need a clean desk and a clean work surface. Just in case, it's also important to have tissues and a glass of water in case you need to blow your nose or your throat gets dry. Now, specific to the LP qualified exam, there will be 100 questions and you will have 2 hours to complete the exam from start to finish. Specific to the LP certified exam, there are 200 questions and you'll have 3 hours to answer those questions. Make sure for both, whether you're taking the LP qualified or LP certified, that you manage your time wisely. Next, remember your basic study tips. As you've gone along, you've been applying the information you've learned to your everyday life and your everyday work. This helps focus that material that you've learned, whether it's application or retention questions, on the material. Next, make sure you're focusing on the bigger picture. The course is stressing those general concepts and industry best practices, not necessarily specific to your company. Don't overthink things. Remember to slow down. Take the time to read through every question thoroughly and consider every answer choice before you make your final decision. When you begin your exam, take that blank piece of paper and pencil and write down those formulas that you were having a hard time remembering, or anything else that you might struggle to remember. Then, while you're going through the exam, if there's any questions that you need to return to, jot those down on that piece of paper as well. As I already said, read each question and all the responses thoroughly. If you're confident in your answer, select it and move on. If you're not quite so sure, skip the question and come back to it later. But if you do skip a question, write it down on that piece of paper so it's easy to come back. Make sure before you submit your exam that every single question has a response. It's better to guess than leave something blank. Don't forget, there's two different types of questions: recall questions and application questions. Recall questions require you to remember information that you've learned throughout the courses that are being described or explained. In this example, determining the facts surrounding a theft or loss using a systematic process to examine the evidence and identify the source, with the ultimate goal of recovering or accounting for store-owned merchandise, is known as, don't forget, you'll have distractors and then you'll have your correct answer. If you've studied the material, you should know the answer, select it, and move on. In this example, it's an investigation. There are also application questions. Those are questions applying the information that you've learned from the course to the question. In this example, a store customer is observed by store loss prevention using an aluminum foil lined shopping bag to steal several pairs of jeans from a display, while a second customer holds up other clothing attempting to block the theft from view. This type of shoplifting incident is most likely the product of, again, you'll have your distractors, but if you've studied your material, you should know the answer. In this example, professional thieves. If you have any questions before you take your exam, please don't hesitate to contact us. We want you to be successful. And keep in mind, you've worked hard. Be patient, be smart, don't get frustrated, make it happen. You've got this. If you do have questions, please feel free to reach out. We're super excited for you. Good luck. You've got this.